She stepped into a deadly Wyoming blizzard with nothing but a small axe, just trying to find firewood for her little brother. But deep inside the frozen forest, her dog led her to a hidden cabin where a wounded stranger, a bag of stolen gold, and a dark secret connected to her dead father were waiting. Then the sound of horses surrounded the cabin, and the richest man in town pointed a gun at the door. What happened next changed her life forever. Watch the full story till the end, and follow our page for more powerful frontier stories like this. Before we start the story, tell me in the comments, where are you listening from and what time is right now? The snow had been falling since before sunrise across the lonely Wyoming hills. Thick white flakes covered the wagon trails, the fences, and the frozen fields until the whole land looked buried beneath a cold blanket. Strong wind howled through the pine trees, bending their heavy branches under the weight of snow. Every cabin in the valley had smoke rising from its chimney, except one. Near the edge of Miller's Creek stood a small, weather-worn cabin that looked ready to collapse under the storm. Inside, the fire in the iron stove was slowly dying. Only a few weak flames still danced between the black logs. A young woman pulled her old winter coat tighter around her shoulders and looked toward the empty wood crate beside the stove. Her little brother sat close to the fire, rubbing his cold hands together, while their old brown hound rested beside him. The boy looked up quietly. "Do we have enough wood for tonight?" The young woman forced a weak smile, but her tired eyes gave away the truth. "Not unless this storm decides to show mercy." The boy lowered his head. He already understood. Ever since sickness had taken their father the previous winter, life had become harder every month. There was no man left to chop wood, repair fences, or protect the family from harsh Wyoming winters. Every burden rested on her shoulders now. Outside, the storm grew worse. Most people would have stayed inside and prayed for morning, but prayer alone could not keep a family alive. The young woman grabbed the small hand axe hanging near the door and pulled on her gloves. "I'll be back soon," she told her brother softly. The old hound lifted its head as she stepped outside into the freezing wind. The cold hit her like a slap. Snow crunched beneath her boots, while icy wind clawed at her face. She wrapped her scarf tighter and began walking toward the forest beyond the ridge. The deeper she walked, the quieter the world became. No birds, no sounds, only the storm moving through the trees. She searched beneath the pines for fallen branches not buried too deep beneath the snow. Now and then she snapped loose, dry limbs and tied them into a growing bundle on her back. But as daylight slowly faded, the woods began to feel strange, too strange. Then suddenly, "Wow!" The old hound came running through the snow from behind her. She had not even noticed the dog following her from home. "Go back!" she shouted. But the dog ignored her and barked again toward a group of thick pine trees nearby. A low growl rumbled from its chest. The young woman froze. Her fingers tightened around the axe handle. Slowly she stepped forward through the snow until the trees suddenly opened into a narrow clearing. And there it stood, a cabin. Old, crooked, half buried beneath snow. Her breathing stopped for a moment. Nobody lived in these mountains anymore. Old mining roads had been abandoned years ago. People in town used to whisper stories about forgotten cabins hidden deep in the hills. But then she noticed something that made her heart pound. Smoke. Thin gray smoke rose slowly from the chimney into the stormy sky. Someone was inside. The old hound barked at the porch while the young woman slowly climbed the snow-covered steps. The cabin looked ancient up close. The roof sagged heavily under snow, and the wooden rails leaned sideways as if one more storm might destroy them forever. Then she noticed something strange. There were no tracks, no horse prints, no wagon marks, no footprints at all except her own. Fear crawled into her chest. Still, she moved closer. Near the door, she saw freshly chopped firewood stacked beneath a tarp. Someone had prepared carefully for winter. Then she heard it. A cough. Weak. Painful. Human. The young woman hesitated. Her father had once warned her about strangers in lonely places. Sometimes danger sounds helpless first, he used to say. But another rough cough came from inside the cabin, followed by the sound of something falling. Without thinking further, she knocked hard on the door. "Hello?" No answer, only the storm behind her. She knocked again. "You all right in there?" Slow footsteps finally approached from inside. The door opened only 2 inches before stopping against a chain lock. One sharp, tired eye stared at her through the narrow gap. The man behind the door looked rough and exhausted. Snow covered his beard, and a dark bruise marked one side of his face. He wore a heavy wool coat even while standing near a fire. His eyes moved toward the axe in her hand. "You planning to use that?" he asked. She quickly lowered it. "Only for chopping wood." For a long moment he simply studied her face. "You're a long way from town." "So are you." For the first time, something almost like amusement touched his face. Then suddenly he bent forward, against the doorframe. "You're sick," she whispered. "I'll survive." But he looked pale enough to collapse. Lightning flashed somewhere beyond the mountains. Thunder rolled across the forest. The man looked toward the storm. "You won't make it home before dark," he said. She knew he was right. Slowly, he unlocked the chain and opened the door wider. Warm firelight spilled across the snow. And then she saw it. A photograph hanging above the fireplace. Her father. The axe nearly slipped from her hand. The picture showed her father years younger, standing beside 2 other men near a wagon full of timber. One of those men was the stranger. "How do you know him?" she asked. The man closed the door behind her. "You should warm yourself first." "That's my father." The stranger stared at the fire. "I know." The cabin suddenly felt smaller, more dangerous. She looked around carefully now. A rifle rested above the fireplace. Medical supplies lay scattered across the table. One sleeve of the man's coat was stained dark with blood. "You're injured." "It's nothing." "It doesn't look like nothing." The stranger ignored her. Finally, after a long silence, he spoke. "Your father and I worked these mountains together years ago. Logging camps, freight routes, trapping." "He never mentioned you." "That doesn't surprise me." Something heavy hid behind those words. Before she could ask more, thud! Hoofbeats echoed outside. The stranger instantly grabbed the rifle and blew out the oil lamp. Darkness swallowed the cabin except for weak firelight. "Stay quiet," he whispered. The hoofbeats grew louder. More than one rider. The young woman's heart pounded hard inside her chest. Through the frosted window, she saw dark figures moving through the storm outside. "Who are they?" she whispered. The stranger ignored the question. Did anyone see you come here?
No,
You sure?
I came alone.
The riders stopped outside the clearing. Then voices carried through the storm. Tracks lead this way! The stranger cursed quietly beneath his breath.
You know them,
She whispered. This time he nodded. Another knock slammed against the cabin door. Open up! The stranger held the rifle tightly. There are 3 outside, he said. Maybe 4.
What do they want?
They think I stole something from them. Fear spread through her chest. Outside, another voice shouted, You ain't got nowhere left to run! The stranger slowly walked toward a drawer near the bed and pulled out a small leather pouch. It clinked heavily. Gold coins.
You robbed them?
She whispered. No.
Then whose gold is it?
The stranger stared at the pouch with deep sadness. Years ago, payroll gold was stolen from mining families in these mountains. Innocent men were blamed. Some died for crimes they never committed.
And this is that gold?
He nodded slowly. Your father knew the truth. Suddenly, boots crunched behind the cabin.
They're surrounding us,
she whispered. The stranger pushed aside an old blanket hanging on the wall, revealing a hidden wooden door. A tunnel, he said. Old mining passage. It runs halfway down the ridge. You want me to escape? You and the dog are leaving. I'm not leaving you. You don't have a choice. Crash! The front window exploded inward as gunfire shattered the glass. The dog barked wildly. The stranger raised the rifle. Then, through the broken window and swirling snow, the young woman recognized one of the riders stepping into lantern light. Her blood turned cold. It was the richest ranch owner in the county. The same man everyone in town respected. The same man people called generous and honest. But now, anger twisted his face. Bring out the gold, he shouted. The stranger leaned heavily against the wall. You see why your father stayed silent, he said painfully. Men like him own everything around here. Outside, the ranch owner stepped closer. That gold belongs to me. The stranger laughed bitterly. No, it belongs to the families your men robbed. For a second, the ranch owner's calm mask disappeared. Then he shouted angrily, Last chance! Suddenly, chaos exploded outside. One frightened horse broke loose in the storm, knocking over lanterns and throwing the riders into darkness. Gunshots echoed through the clearing. Then something unexpected happened. One of the ranch owner's own men shouted, This ain't what you told us! Another rider yelled angrily, You said nobody would get hurt! Panic spread through the group. The storm had become too violent. The stranger looked at the young woman. They never knew the whole truth. What truth? He swallowed painfully. Your father found proof years ago that the ranch owner helped steal the payroll gold. Innocent men were blamed, while powerful men walked free. The young woman felt tears burn in her eyes. Her father had carried that secret his entire life. Outside, the riders began abandoning the ranch owner one by one. Fear spread across their faces. Soon, only the ranch owner remained, furious and desperate. He stormed toward the porch with a revolver in his hand. The stranger straightened painfully. No more running, he whispered. But before the ranch owner reached the door, the young woman stepped forward herself. Stop right there! Her voice cut sharply through the storm. The ranch owner froze. She held up the photograph of her father. "My father died protecting the truth from men like you." For the first time, uncertainty crossed the ranch owner's face. The stranger stepped beside her, holding the pouch of gold. "This money goes back to the families it was stolen from." The ranch owner looked around. His men were gone. The storm screamed through the trees. And suddenly he realized he was alone. Slowly, anger turned into fear. Without another word, he backed away, climbed onto his horse, and disappeared into the snow-covered forest. Silence finally returned to the clearing. Inside the cabin, the stranger nearly collapsed from exhaustion. The young woman quickly caught him before he fell. "You should have escaped through the tunnel," he whispered weakly. "And leave you here alone?" she replied softly. For the first time that night, he smiled. By morning, the storm had passed. Golden sunlight spread across the snowy Wyoming mountains. Beside the warm fire, the stranger finally told her everything. About the robbery, about her father protecting innocent families, about the years spent hiding from dangerous men. Weeks later, the stolen gold was quietly returned to the families it truly belonged to. Rumors about the ranch owner spread through town. His reputation collapsed. Eventually, he sold his land and vanished westward forever. And the hidden cabin deep in the snowy woods no longer felt cursed by secrets. The stranger stayed through the rest of winter. He repaired fences, chopped firewood, helped care for her little brother. Slowly, warmth returned to the lonely cabin near Miller's Creek. And every time snow began falling across the Wyoming hills, the young woman remembered the night she walked into the storm, searching for firewood, and found a hidden cabin that changed her life forever. Thank you so much for watching this story all the way till the end. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button and share it with your friends. It really helps us a lot. If you want to watch more exciting stories like this, don't forget to subscribe our page right now. Tell me in the comments, where are you listening from, and what time is right now? And if this story touched your heart, please send some stars. Every single star gives us huge motivation to keep creating more amazing videos for you. See you in the next story. Take care of you, friends.